friends. Welcome to Let's All Feel Better. I'm Kalista Parrish, your cynical sidekick.
And I'm Liz Kiefer. I'm your intuitive guide today.
Nice.
I'm opening up to intuition today.
I like it. That's good. That's good. That's a helpful and useful person to have in our team. I'm not sure if cynical sidekick is particularly useful at this juncture, but I couldn't.
Yes, it is. It's a good balance, right? Playing the magic, but staying the real, right?
There you go. Exactly. Good one. Good one. So today we are talking to you about animals, really. Liz and I had got into a discussion about what we were seeing more of, or what folks were seeing more of. And there's a concrete, if we will, a feet of clay part of this, which is that during the pandemic, of course, there's fewer people are traveling, fewer people are out with their cars and such, planes. So I know actually a lot of people have been saying that they've been seeing a lot, a more varied class of birds than normal.
More animals are able to come out. There's more space for them.
Right, exactly. And I was saying that for the first time in, I can't remember how many years, my dogs that you occasionally hear barking in the background, which I've noticed listening back, they have usually chased away most of the critters of, mammalian reptile, rodential critters in our property. But this year we're seeing a lot of bunnies. And I was thinking about that, and they're quite large.
I'm not getting bunnies. Wow.
I'm not sure if you can call them bunnies anymore. I would have to call one of these definitely a rabbit. A rabbit. And it's affected what I've been planting. I've had to move my lettuce up to a higher level and plant my mint in a pot, because there's different views of whether bunnies like mint or don't like mint.
Envision you in your farmer's outfit.
Yes.
You have a farmer's outfit when you go out and you plant your lettuce, don't you?
I do. I mean, mostly it's my, my cutoffs, which I wear just all the time in the summertime. But I do have, because I am so prone to rashes, I do have socks that I cut the toes out of, and I wear them all along my arm, and then put the gloves on. So because one year when I got poison ivy and the Japanese bayberry pricker bushes scratched my skin, and the poison ivy on my arm, and the poison ivy went into my bloodstream and came out of my belly button. And everybody at the doctor's office was fascinated. They had to bring in other doctors. It came out my belly button.
Out of your belly button?
Yeah, so it was out of my belly button, and it's all in my belly button and all up my torso. Yes, literally the doctor was like, do you mind if I bring someone else in? And they were like, could we take pictures? I was like, okay. He's like, it just usually it comes out of your bloodstream, out to your skin again. But belly button was a nice, unique Kalista-ism, a rash that comes from your belly button. It's always interesting with me. Let me tell you, me and my skin, we can always find something interesting to fascinate people with.
You're sharing these little jewels.
And people are like, ew, who is that woman? Now, but also there have been a plethora of bear sightings.
Bears. Yeah, we have one. We have one right in the neighborhood. I was talking about it before. It's like, what to do with the bear?
We have several on the mountain, but now I'm hearing in town that people are having bears like crazy, and which seems odd. And I have a friend who just this morning was saying she takes care of dogs, so I think usually that kind of keeps them away. They don't love dogs, bears, but or like, why bother with that house? I can move on to the next one, kind of thing. Right. But she's been in her house for 19 years and she's never seen a bear.
And she's
And
seeing a
she
bear now.
saw a bear this morning. A
So
baby I saw, I think.
Here's my
Yeah.
question, because this, I always like,
Right. So when I chatter with Liz channels it to a higher, more spiritual plane. And why could this be? Why is
I immediately went to, what is the message that the bears are trying to tell us? Because I believe that animals, I believe in the messages of animals. And when an animal appears and out of nowhere, and you suddenly you're very mindful of it. And I've never seen that animal before. I immediately go and look up its meaning.
Yes.
I'm a big proponent of the spirit animals, of ancient mystical wisdoms of the Native Americans all believe that they
right. I was going to say there's many cultures that have that. More, would you say indigenous cultures that are closer to the earth have long traditions of getting messages and receiving signs and knowledge from animals, as well as the animal spirit, a whole concept of the indigenous peoples of the North Americas, which is really cool.
Immediately had to go look up the meaning of the bear.
Yes.
And this was quite apropos. And I love these messages and meanings, because for me, it's like a prompt to just be open to an intuitive, a knowingness. Oh, I hadn't thought about that. How can it bridges ideas for me whenever I get messages from animals. Usually it's pertaining to something that's happening in my life. Yeah. And I'm allowed to see something in a way that I hadn't thought of before, because the animal is just sort of whispering a message to me. So what is it that the bear means?
So one of these that I have looked up, that the bear itself is about strength and confidence, but I really liked this. It's standing against adversity, taking action, and leadership. And the spirit of the bear indicates it's time for healing or using healing abilities to help self or others.
Wow.
Yeah, and if that ain't right now, I don't know what is.
That's a good message. Yeah. And the fact that so many different people are seeing bears. It's not just you seeing a bear.
Yeah.
It's collective bear sightings.
Yeah. And in unusual places, I'd have to say. Like, I like that. It's like a message that's trying to scream at us, a message that can't be overlooked. And I think
kind of like my laundry room was screaming.
There you go.
Several
The
weeks
voices
ago.
in your head. Yes, exactly.
It's the same idea.
Exactly.
Rooms can have messages as well as animals.
Well, I always feel that way with messages. This is me being a little more channeling more of my woo, but that how honored and lucky I am that the universe would deign to give me a message, would be looking out for me enough to be like, hey, if you're paying attention, I've got a message for you. I like that.
First, you have to recognize that it's there.
Yes.
And be open to it. Sorry. And have that kind of.
Speaking of animals, that was me going and letting my dog in and out of the office. She's just too antsy for words today.
But I love the wisdom of animals. So I also take it to another level, where I love working with oracle cards, and I have this spirit animal oracle deck that was given to me. Oracle cards are usually a product of somebody gives it into your life, and it's oh, okay, that's a message. That's a message from the universe right there.
Well, like they say that you're not supposed to pick your own tarot deck, but I don't know if I necessarily go in with that. But I've actually never had to, but that's just because I've had excellent people give me excellent decks. But
right. Well, I think that there's certain things that if you're drawn to, there's for like crystals, like if you're drawn, you're drawn to something, they come into your life. However they come into your life, they come into your life.
Good point.
We're just gonna go with that. But I have a particular deck that I really love because it's so beautiful. It's called the Spirit Animal Oracle deck. I'm holding it up for anybody who's actually watching this, but it's a guidebook, and it's by Colette Reid, who is she's a spiritual, intuitive, psychic medium, educator, oracle expert.
We can put that.
I
We can
think
put
she has
it
her
in
own
our.
oracle school. But anyway, I mean,
We can put a link to it in our description.
yeah, but they're also beautiful. Just the whole designs on the cover. It's like this matrix. It's so beautiful. But I love to just take them as a prompt.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking about that with Oracle. You know, Oracle decks you can get, right, with the tarot, and you can do a spread, and it's
Right.
it's for giving readings and all of that, right? I don't necessarily use that for
Yeah,
this.
you know, I mean, I've done it when I've read for other people. I find that it can kind of help me to focus their energy, if you will, to you know, it can help people to have a concrete. This is this. Tend to do the Celtic Cross one. I also tend nowadays more to, as I say, kind of slush them about while thinking about things. And like when I start any new endeavor, like podcast,
Yeah,
that just, it's a kind of way for me to check in with myself, to be like, oh, okay, maybe I am feeling that.
right. I see it as a dialogue with my higher self. I
Yeah,
actually
that's
see
nice.
it as it's an actual dialogue where it's like I'm being guided to look at a certain thing in a certain way. And we were doing this in the very beginning. We were picking a card every morning
Yeah, yeah.
with the podcast, and it was the animal cards. I also love the
Yeah.
animals because it just
Well, it's great
it's
because I would get a text in the morning and Liz would go, okay, so I was thinking on you. And so this is the card that I picked and this is what it means. And I was like, oh, excellent. I don't have to do it for myself. No, it's
yeah,
great. I love that. I love that. That animal deck is really spot on. I have to say that that having used different decks, that and the interpretations that come with them or from them, that I like the ones that are, I want to say, more open ended, that kind of, you
oh
know,
yeah,
as opposed to telling you what, you know, like a card reader on the, you know, on the, in a shop for, you know,
no, because
$5, you know,
that
that
actually
never
is
sits with me.
I when that happens, I believe you're squashing your
Yeah.
intuition. I believe the whole thing is supposed to open your intuition and the open-ended questions. There's no yes or no's, and there's no, um, well, I'm not looking for that. I'm really not looking for an outside voice to tell me what to do.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
looking
So
to be
again,
connected in a deeper way to my inside voice
yes, and
through
messages,
my higher voice.
right? But messages, like we were saying, right? You know,
Yes,
the idea. I feel like it's kind of sending me a message, like, huh? Have you thought about this, or have you thought about it from this angle, or
right.
maybe, you know, why you're not sleeping is because you're wrestling with this stuff, and you know,
And
that
some of
kind of
it's
feel of it.
very humbling too. Some
Yeah,
of it's stuff like, oh, I need to surrender my ego.
yeah.
I'll get certain animals sometime. I was reading it because I would get owls all the time, and I was reading that about owls are, you know, are, oh, I had it highlighted. Um, uh, they're allies for our souls, act as our teachers and sacred healers. I love this. Oh, here. Sometimes if something important was, you wanted a confirmation about something important, a raven would appear. And then she says, when I needed direction, a dragonfly would land on my hand, comforting me and reassuring me that I'm never alone in this interconnected matrix of being, and that I'm always loved. I mean, there are some animals that are just so wonderful, and the
I love me a dragonfly.
yeah, the
I'm a
dragonflies are very uh, mystical, and the owls about their wisdom and being able to see in the dark and see full, 360,
yeah.
see what's hidden.
Well, they're known to be wise, right? There's a reason that sometimes there's a reason why these stories, if you will, these descriptions have come down through the many generations, you know, and that it comes from a spiritual thing that now we just all think of, oh, owls are wise. Why do
Right.
we
But
think
it's like
that?
an
But because, yeah, exactly.
right. And so I love pulling the essence from an animal, what they represent. And honestly, this, I was thinking about it this morning. It overlaps very much with an acting technique that I love to call upon, which is utilizing um, symbols and imagery.
Yeah.
I had a wonderful teacher early on that he was all about that. He was just, his name was David Alexander, and Jack Lemmon was one of his students. And it's so funny because he would always talk you'd have to figure out what your animal was before you could even figure out your character. You first started with, what's the animal? What am I? What am I? Am I a giraffe? And it would start affecting your physicality and how you you reached for things, and it's really fascinating. Am I a ruler? Am I? It's kind of you just draw and you allow it to wash through you, and then it comes out in the form of a character.
That's very interesting. I often do with the kids. I do walking around the room as different animals and saying to them, how does that feel if you were a character? If that were a character, what kind of character would that be? The one that walks around with a long giraffe neck. How does that, what do you think that character would be like? So I kind of do it from the opposite end of it. With kids, it's easier to start with the animal.
Yeah, no, it's really great. So anyway, I see these animal messages and spirit guides as the same way. It's like I just take the essence and let it wash through me. It's just the animal represents. It's like a picture is worth 1,000 words. You just get a knowingness without
Yeah.
anything other than just this picture of the animal and its message to you. I love this stuff. I wanted to pick a card. I have my deck here, and I wanted just to pick one while we were talking, because I kind of love the surprise of it. And for me, I do it all different ways because I'm not big on rules.
Right. I was going to say, it's kind of what led me to spirituality myself, as opposed to organized religion, is I don't like being told what to do. I don't like being told I'm doing it wrong. I feel like I get to this my own way, and that's how the way that works for me and all that. Yes.
Yeah, I'm a rule breaker. That part of me is a rule breaker. So I sometimes just to swish them around and take one without asking nothing is on my mind. All I want to know is, what message do you have for me today? And then it prompts me to, something will come up, a situation will come up, and I'll go, oh, that's what that's talking about. Okay, I'm supposed to look at that. And then sometimes I have a real situation that I'm thinking about, pondering, and then I bear that in mind as I start picking cards, and I allow, it's the same way. It's sort of like acting from the inside out or the outside in. which way. But today, right now, I'm having I'm just having the need to just take one for the sake of taking one without asking a question.
Yeah.
What do you
Well,
think?
you're also doing it in a different format, a different forum, in a more public way than you normally would be
True. So
connected with the card.
I'm going to shuffle them, and then I'm just going to see what comes up, because I'm so curious that we're all together. I love stuff like this. This stuff gets me very excited.
I do
Very.
too. This is where you're going to find my woo comes out, is really, I do rituals, and I definitely am
I
more
love it.
of that.
Supposedly,
Magic
I
and
have read
chips.
as well. These cards have been like cleaned and cleared, and I've done that. I put a little candle, little um, crystal by them, and you're supposed to
Sure.
hold them in your left hand and give it a little knock. It's
Sure.
like
Yep.
it releases
Lets
all the old
yep.
energy, right? And so it allows. Let's see what we're going to bring in. I become 8 years old right now. I just okay. So I'm going to squish them, and I'm going to take this one. Bat spirit.
Ooh.
It says a rebirth is assured. bat spirit. Okay, I
Wow.
have to read what it is. And it's
I
the
love
right.
bats, by the
I
way.
love bats. This is kind of
I have bats.
so
I have
exciting.
a
A rebirth.
bats mate for life. I have a pair of bats that live on my property that we've had this thing called the North American bat disease, and it killed a lot of them.
Yeah.
Mine have survived. Not all of their offspring have.
Oh.
Yeah, it's sad. And the little babies every year they should have two every year. It doesn't always work out that way. Like pigeons, weirdly, who also mate for life, but different story. And bats eat mosquitoes, which is one of the
Your
things that I live
brains
on a swamp,
migrate
so
so fast.
really an adult bat can eat up to 2,500 mosquitoes a day. So they're all good with me as long as they stay where they are. Occasionally they get caught in the house, but although it was very funny, I had a bunch of young people over once and for the weekend, and big, burly, young, strapping men, and all of a sudden everyone started shouting and shrieking. They're like, "There's a bat in the kitchen! There's a bat in the kitchen!" And I was like, "Oh my god, everybody calm down, put on my oven mitts, got
She's
myself
saying,
a
here
pot
comes
pan with
Farmer
a pot
Bus.
with a lid," and I was like, "Come here, little bat, put it in the thing. It doesn't want to be inside. It wants to get outside.
Right.
They're very
Well,
not attractive
man,
looking when you come
but
into
they're
contact with them. They show you their teeth and stuff, but they're lovely. They just want to. But I love how a tiny little bat can. Well, then again, eating
they're
a tiny little
big,
bat
big,
has put us
big
all in a
people.
global pandemic. So
So
there
I'm
you go.
going to read what bat spirit is
Yeah,
because I think that this is interesting. I want to see where this goes.
yeah. Let's see our message.
It's called A Rebirth is Assured. So I'm reading it out of this little oracle book. And the message is, after something has run its course and died or been released, finished, surrendered, completed, or ended, there is a promise of a new beginning. Ooh. Rebirth is assured just as night gives way to dawn and the bat emerges from the darkness of a womb-like cave. Kind of like the pandemic.
Yeah, yeah,
Quarantine. Um, Sorry, I'm giving my notes
yeah.
along the way. Bat spirit has come to remind you that this rebirth is a miraculous one, for the very best elements of what you had to give up in the death of the old are still present in this new amazing life forming now. Ooh, this is also kind of like the caterpillar inside,
Yeah.
right? Let's go back to that episode. This is the
Oh
miracle
my
and
goodness.
magic of rebirth in every aspect of your life, including the rebirth of faith in your ability to establish new and healthy relationships. Ooh. Ooh. Bat spirit reminds you that at present you are in unknown territory and may feel as if you are lost. Ooh. However, you are called to trust that your intuition will be a reliable guide as you give birth to something new and unfamiliar. Wow, this is really
Ooh,
speaking
wow.
to
It's
me, guys.
really,
Really
really,
speaking to me.
really.
It goes on. Hold on. That spirit has listened in the darkness of a night and has heard all your hopes and dreams, your fears and worries, and assures you that this new version of your dream, this move from darkness into light, from lost to found, and death to rebirth, comes to fruition with love at its core. I'm going to tear up, guys. That spirit asks you to trust that what seems to have died is actually shape-shifting into something even more meaningful and wondrous than before. Whew. If you feel you are in the dark, know that come morning, all will be revealed and things will be in a new form that is right for you.
Wow.
Okay, let's all feel better. That's our podcast. I mean, my
Yeah.
goodness.
Wow.
Now, interesting, then there's a protection message. So if anybody who's not done cards, if I were to have picked this and it were upside down, because I picked it and the number was on the top of the card. So I picked it up and it's correct. Well, not correct. It's just in its upright position. But if I had picked it and it had been upside down, which it can be because when you shuffle the deck, it all gets turned around and it makes, then it's asking you to look at probably another side, and maybe when the bat energy or the message is out of balance. But so so here's the protection message, which I always love to read.
Yeah, I like to read this.
It gives me like, let me check myself to see where I am with this. So what are you refusing to let die? I love these questions. Bat spirit is gently nudging you to let go of your need to cling to the familiar story that has already run its course. A new story is posed to be born. Isn't this interesting? It's all about stories. I'm all about the power of story. We are about the power of story. A new story is poised to be born. Okay, some dreams were only meant to last for a moment in time. Sometimes they were only there to slow you down as you recalibrated in preparation for the new life that will give you what you really want.
Wow.
Perhaps you need to grieve as you say goodbye to something. At least you're saying goodbye in its familiar form. Perhaps you must let go of a part of you that must die so you can be reborn. This temporary time in the dark doesn't have to be scary or sad, though. That spirit gives you her powers of perception and awareness as you learn to listen deeply and navigate these unknown caves of temporary emptiness. I got to say that again.
Yeah.
You listen deeply and navigate these unknown caves of temporary emptiness. That's a great image. You will emerge with a new perspective, and Bat Spirit will witness your giving birth to the life that matches the intentions and desires of your heart and soul.
Yeah, and that has pandemic written all over it to me too.
Gotta love my Bat Spirit animal spirit guide oracle cards. See that just,
and that it was an actual freaking bat that started all this. Like, it's all
a scary bat started it. Isn't it interesting? Because a lot of times I'm finding, just like in dreams, when you have images, they because I love to do dream analysis. I had a great dream last night. A great dream. But what you think of is scary, when you really get to the essence of it, then it unleashes something that's underneath all of that, and it's not meant to be scary at all.
Yeah, well, it's so interesting. I mean, I love the interpretation factor of all of this stuff. I mean, of the cards in general, and why there are so many different ones. And I love your animal cards. It's there's so much to unpack there.
Well, there is, but I just love it because it makes me feel more confidence in my cave of emptiness. That's a great image. I have to write all that down. Yeah. I want to, you know what that has inspired me to go do? I want to paint a picture of it. Isn't that interesting?
That's
and I'm not really a painter, but I feel that it's just inspiring me. I want to see a visual.
To the lake. Take stuff to the lake with you.
Yeah, I'm going up to my lake little cottage this weekend, and I'm going to commune with nature and all the animals. Yeah.
That's crazy. But I love the imagery of the rebirth too right now, and what we're going through, and coming out of the darkness of the cave, and coming out of the, it's something's funny that I felt that way with your reading of this stuff, because I feel like this in, as you say, that you read the what do you say, the opposite part of it, that
protection message.
Yeah, the protection message, that I absolutely do that. I read them for both things that they are all the time. It's one of the things I do, a much more Judeo-Christian symbolic Celtic deck called the Spiritual Tarot that I really actually love. That's by Kay Steventon. And what she does is she's the painter herself.
That's beautiful.
So yeah, so it's incredible imagery, and she puts the message into the painting, and then also gives you the divine, the divinatory description as well, so that for those of us who are particularly visual, I find it works really nicely that you see it, and she, so that it's, whatever, the angel is wrapped in this, and this is why, you know what I mean, and that this is pulling them down, but this is also uplifting, and all the balances
all
of
the
all of it.
symbols are all within, the picture's worth 1,000 words.
Exactly. But yeah, that's very, very vivid imagery with that bat description there. And I think weirdly more of a vivid imagery than a lot of the things in that deck. That you know what I mean? That this
particular one
was particularly visual, if you will, or the imagery of it. But yeah, that's.
And I love that it kept mentioning it's an intuitive guide, and that's how I decided to show up today as your intuitive guide. So it's all about intuition. I
swear she didn't plant this.
No, but see, this is what happens. The synchronicities start to become very apparent, and then one leads to another, and then everything around you is all connected. It's beautiful.
Sorry, my husband is leaving.
Who are you waving to?
My husband is leaving. He came to the window to wave goodbye so as not to make any noise.
It's okay. I just have my cat who's always sleeping behind me. Lily.
Yeah, so we had a JoJo sighting there. Jo came in and out, and luckily she's just been bathed. Well, a couple of days ago. Of course, my dogs, once you bathe them, they instantly go outside and look for something horrible smelling to roll in. But
they're dogs. We should look for the dog message.
Yes, exactly. Well, it's very funny. We've been talking about that a lot with the pandemic too. That how much animals have become your domesticated animals have also become so highly important to us all. They are entertainment as well as companionship. I have a friend who said, I never wanted to know this much about what my kittens do when I'm not home. I was like, okay. So you're like, okay, now that's enough already. But no, it's here's to the animals.
The animals, and you can look this stuff up on Google, on the internet. If you don't have to have a deck of cards. I mean,
there's all sorts of animals.
It's so much fun, and I do it, and I love doing it with kids. Like, just what's an animal that has just keeps showing up in your life? You've seen it over and over again. It could be show up on a pillow. It was a stuffed animal you had, or it was a mascot, and it just keeps showing up. And you'll start to go, oh yeah. I've always had a fox. Foxes were always, or whatever it is. And then we go and we look up what the meanings are, and then they see how it applies to their life. Kids love this. And sometimes you can have an animal just for the day, a guide that just shows, a little animal guide that's showing up just for the moment, just for today. It wants you to look at something. So it opens
we were saying, the messages.
Looking at the animals around you.
The messages.
Yeah, even
who's trying to send you a message.
Yeah. So I highly suggest being open to the animals around you, no matter how big or small. And even if they don't even have to be real, they can show up in paintings and logos and dreams. I had the coolest dream last night. I have to say it. I have to
go for it.
Really quickly.
I'm gonna wrap up, but please share.
But I had this splinter in my finger, and I couldn't get it out. So I said, okay, I'm going to soak it. And I soaked it, and it was like days. I came back to it, and it had been days, and I had almost forgotten about it. And now I'm like, well, let's just see if I can get it out. And I squeezed it, and a big splinter came shooting up out of my finger, like, boom. But it wasn't coming up all the way. I couldn't get it all the way out. And then little pieces of wood and like a bush started sprouting out around it. And I went, oh my God, it's like little fires I'm putting out like little groups of splinters everywhere. And what am I going to do? Because now it's not just one splinter I can take out. I've got these little groups of splinters. And I sat there. And then suddenly the entire thing came out, and it was one big connected leaf with a big root. It magically came out. The whole thing came out all at once. And suddenly I saw it. I went, what I thought were all these little little
separate.
little islands of incongruent
We're
twigs,
all
but
actually connected.
one big, fabulous, beautiful leaf
Oh.
that is a rebirth of something. Oh, I just
Yeah.
connected all of that.
Yeah. Look
Okay,
at
I'm
you
done.
go.
My job is done here.
Interpretation completed.
I'm
Well,
good now.
honestly, on that note, we'd like to say thank you all for listening to this. And thank you, Liz, for sharing your pull, your card reading yourself. That I always find that to be a very intimate thing to
Oh,
with the group. But
my pleasure. I don't know.
I need to go research more things about the bat imagery. I'm really, I think that I hope you're all fascinated, because I'm fascinated by this. I don't know if it's completely.
I'm sure everybody's now going to start seeing bats wherever they go today. Just look for it. I mean, that's where your brain starts doing that. The minute you put it into your consciousness, and then it's like seeing red trucks. I'm going to see red trucks.
I was actually, yeah, I know, right? I was actually very excited to tell my bats. I'll tell my bats later. They come out at twilight.
Well, I feel better.
I feel better. I feel like in energized.
I do too.
Which I love. I love that. And I think we're all ready for a rebirth.
Yes. Yeah. Rebirth sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you all for your time. Thank you, Colette.
Thank you, Liz, and thank you all. Let's all feel better.
Till next time.
As always, you can find us at letsallfeelbetter.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Let's All Feel Better.
And watch us on our YouTube channel. You guessed it, Let's All Feel Better.